to make a few opening remarks. Please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bill Morgan. I'm Vice Chair of the EACC, the East African Chamber of Commerce, and I'm glad to see everybody come out tonight. Tonight's about a special event. There's a lot of success stories that we want to be able to share and expose you guys to rising stars, rising opportunities. For me as an American investor, I've been involved in East Africa since 2009, and I've seen the culture, I've seen the activities, I've fallen in love with all the people, but the business opportunities are amazing. And so myself, I'm an investor, been active in Rwanda since 2009 for the Rwanda community. I support all of EAC, and tonight's about the stories of opportunities, many investment opportunities that we want to share with you and get you guys plugged into the vibrant activities there in East Africa. But we've got a very special guest tonight that I want to introduce, Mr. Bonnie Musfini, our commercial attaché from Rwanda, to share a few words before we get started.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Bill. Mr. Mwangi, Chair of Equity Bank. I stand here to represent my ambassador, Mathilde Mukantamana, who wasn't able to be with you tonight, but also to be happy here on behalf of the government of Rwanda to be part of this kind of meeting. We always look at such presentations or meetings as an advantage to explain, to tell people what East Africa is all about. But how do we come out well and talk about East Africa as the diaspora community that is away far from East Africa, the region itself? It's very encouraging to see that we are now not looking at countries specifically, but looking at a bloc that has almost 160 million people. And we feel having the East Africa Chamber of Commerce as one of the platforms that is best here, supporting a private investor who is back all the way from Kenya to come and find people to work with, to connect with. It's something that is very encouraging in terms of seeing what do the diaspora have to present, what do the diaspora expect. I won't speak much on the products, on what Equity Bank has done. I think there will be time for that. But I also want specifically to tell you that Rwanda is a country that is ready for business. That is why we have Kenya, for the last 2 years, being one of the top country, having the biggest number of foreign investors, beating even the US, beating the UK, which we've been seeing as one of the strong sources of investors, foreign investors. And Rwanda being where it is, it's a good location in terms of focusing on the bloc as well. So I'm here to meet, to talk to the diaspora, and I'm happy to meet my fellow Rwandans, fellow Kenyans. I guess we're going to be here to talk about Tanzania, talk about Uganda, and it's also very good to hear it from an investor himself who is on ground to tell you what is happening. I would summarize by saying why Rwanda today? One of the things is because of its sustainable economic growth that has been 8% average since 2005 till to date. The robust governance, zero tolerance for corruption, the climate that is friendly for investors, and it's so open. It doesn't only consider foreign investors, but even the local investors, even the small investors. So anything to do with changing the lives of people is very vital for our economy, and doesn't focus on only the market of Rwanda, but also the market of the bloc itself and going global. So I won't spend a lot of time and take advantage of people that have promoted and developed this event, but just to say thank you, and thank you for giving us the opportunity. Have a good evening.
It's so nice to see all of you. Everyone looks so nice and quiet. I feel like I'm the only one who wants to have some kind of rowdy moment here. So I wanted to first say thank you so much for coming and joining us to welcome Equity Bank today, our new partner with the East African Chamber. That's a big deal, so I expect a clap for that. And again, my name is Elsa Juko McDowell. I am from Uganda, the first East African Ugandan chairwoman for the East African Chamber. That's a big deal. So the East African Chamber, for those of you who don't know who we are the organization that promotes trade investment within the United States and East Africa region. So again, that's a big deal. You guys have to be active now. I can't just stand up here and you're not participating. So one of the things I'd like to say is that we typically have an event every month, but we also have an event annually, and that's also a big deal. It's usually in October. We're having one 2017. Please go to the website and look and see what's happening. If you haven't joined the chamber, I encourage you to do that because it's a place where you can really advocate for yourself, whether you have a business or self-promotion or you're trying to explore or network. It's a perfect place to be. So I'd like to go ahead and have some of our board members. The perfect thing about this organization is that we have rotating roles, so no one's in the position for a very long time. So I really have to make an effort to use this platform to really motivate people for the next year because my term will be over in October, okay? So you guys have to really join the chamber if you haven't already, okay? So for those of you who are going to join the chamber today, I expect you to raise your hands. Can you raise your hands right now? Yeah, what? I'm looking at you. You need to raise your hand right there. I'm looking at you with the glasses. All right, so anyway, so it's a perfect platform for you to be able to join and promote your business or promote yourself. I also feel that at this time, I think it's good to show people that it doesn't take one person but a team of people. So I'll start with our Vice Chair, Bill Morgan. If you could stand up, please. Give him a hand. Our founding member, there's so many of them. Sylvia Karuga, Vincent Kasue. Edwin, where are you? He's a former chair. There you go. These are the people that have made it happen. Robert Maruli, he's our secretary. And anybody else who I haven't mentioned to stand up. We have a lot of great support teams, so give those people a hand because they're the ones who really make this chamber happen. They're the ones who made this event happen. With that said, again, I'm so happy that we have Equity Bank with us today, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to read from my phone to introduce the CEO of Equity Bank. And I'd like to start by, forgive me for reading this, but Dr. James Mwangi is the chairman of the Kenya Vision for 2030 Delivery Board and has charged responsibility for ensuring that Kenya becomes a middle-income country with the global high standards of living. However, this is for all regions, as you can see, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania. So I'd like to introduce the CEO at this time to come up here and let us know about Equity Bank.
Thank you very much, Chair, East African Council, Council members, our commercial attaché for Rwanda, Republic of Rwanda, invited guests. It's very thrilling to see the house full. And from the onset, I just want to thank you most sincerely for giving us this opportunity to come and share with you the happenings within the East African region. We have borrowed a leaf from what political leadership is doing, bringing up the East African community together, having joint projects, particularly infrastructure development. And we said the business should provide leadership, and it's for that reason we asked the East African Council here to host us so that we bring Tanzanians, Ugandans, Rwandans, Kenyans, and all East Africans together as a family and as a community. Equity Bank happens to be in all the countries represented here, and a little bit beyond. We have a presence in DRC, Congo, and South Sudan. And for that reason, as the largest bank in Eastern Central Africa in market capitalization, we feel privileged that we would be having this session with you. But today we don't want to focus a lot on Equity Bank. We want to focus on what is happening back home, bring you information, get to know a little bit of the transformation happening back home, and assess for yourself the role you can play to be part and the parcel of the transformation of the region that you come from. As we are all aware, I'm chairman of Vision 2030 in Kenya. Rwanda started with Vision 2020. It all started with Rwanda 2020. It went to Tanzania, Vision 2025. Came Kenya, Vision 2030. Uganda, Vision 2040. South Sudan, Vision 20. So basically what I will do is to use a framework of one of the visions, but as I articulate what these visions are all about, I'll be able to interject and borrow from each vision that we have. But the framework is basically the same because the economies are almost at the same level of development. The structure of the economies are almost the same. So one vision basically speaks for all. But the vision that I'm very familiar with is that of Kenya. I was very privileged that when the country conceived the idea of a long-term strategic plan, I was retained among the technical bench that worked with McKinsey to formulate the vision for Kenya. And subsequently, I was asked to be the first chairman of the delivery board that has been steering the achievement or delivery of that vision. So that gives me quite a bit of insight. But with the operations within the region, it has been pretty easy for us then to interrogate and align ourselves to the visions of the other countries within the region so that we can align our operations to those visions. So the presentation will really focus on emerging investment opportunities within the East African framework. And then we could look at it. But as I said, we have used the Vision 2030 framework. All the four vision frameworks have three things in common. The first one is to look at the governance structures. And as we heard from the commercial attaché of Rwanda, the biggest focus is really mainstreaming the governance structures, enhancing them so that we can have accountable governance structures, we can have people-centered governance structures. And each country has taken a different route. If you take, for instance, what is happening in Tanzania, the huge, massive focus the president is having, it's all about the way the country is governed. If you look at Rwanda, it has been leading that really structure of involvement particularly. One area that Rwanda seems to have performed very well is involvement and engagement of total community, with Rwanda having a higher representation of ladies in parliament than maybe any country in the world. It is number one in the world in terms of representation. If we look at Kenya, we have focused really on really addressing the challenges that we experience since independence on governance. And that has evolved in a two-dimensional way. The first one was to take governance to the grassroots. And that forced the country to have two sets of governance, or two centers of governance, the central government and the county government, with 45% of the resources being given to the county government so that the communities can decide on what is most important for them. At the same time, the community have a local parliament, what we call MCAs, the county parliament, they have their own cabinet, and they have their own governor. And then as the country, we have the central government, which is an executive arm of government. If you look at Kenya again, in terms of execution of power, the country opted for three arms of government that are independent of each other so that they can exercise checks and balances. So we have a judiciary, a legislature, and an executive that are independent of each other. And exercise, and we can see the benefits of these reforms within each country. So that area, I would say, we are making significant progress. As we all know, governance systems and structures take time to take root. And unfortunately, we always ignore the age of our democracies. And then we benchmark ourselves with democracies that may be 250 years old. And so essentially, the level of evolution, we are at different levels of evolution. But that area, there is quite a lot happening. The second area that has been really focused on is the question of people-centric systems. And that is what we really talk about, the social pillar. If you look at the biggest investments that the East African governments are focusing on are on social sphere. And particularly the social sphere, we are talking about education, we are talking about health, we are talking about water, we are talking about housing. And those areas are now the biggest consumers of budgetary allocations. Why? Because transformation starts with the people. You transform the people transform their country. So if you look at, again, Rwanda is leading in terms of focus on education, focus on eradication of poverty. If you look at Kenya again, education has now been made free and compulsory by law, so that every child should be able to get. So essentially we are seeing transition rates, like in Kenya, where 82% of children are transiting from primary to secondary education, and university transition is now hitting 18%. So essentially we are seeing a region that really is investing in people. Health is another area, and I would really like, I think leading there, Kenya is leading in health investment, looking at the health of the people and saying people are as good as their health. And essentially, the productivity of people is not just at the intellectual level, based on the education they receive, but it's also measured in the health that the population depicts. So huge investments in health. So we are really, but then how are we to fund this transformation? Governance is very expensive. When you create two layers of government, a county government and a central government, that cost becomes extremely exorbitant. When you give free primary education or aspire to give free secondary education, that is also massive. So the question was, how do we fund this? And as we all know, donor aid, its phase is almost over. So essentially, it is a question of making the economy pay for the cost of governance and the social investments. And essentially, if you have to get the economy to pay, then you must make the economy globally competitive and dynamic so that the private sector can play in. To make the East African economies really dynamic and competitive, the biggest objective has to be to invest in enablers. And enablers is basically infrastructure. So whichever country you look at, there is nothing that their countries are focusing on other than the enabling the private sector to become the engine of growth of the East African economy. And that is where the biggest opportunity comes in. While the government spends so much, whether it is power generation. Let me give you an example, for instance, of Kenya. For 80 years, Kenya had built only a capacity of 800 megawatts. In the last 10 years, Kenya has moved from 800 megawatts to 2,400 megawatts, tripling the power generation within a period of 10 years, what we had generated over 80 years. And suddenly, the era of power rationing is over in the region. Then you look at the investment in roads. Those particularly who know, in Kenya we had an aspiration in 1977 of connecting Nairobi with Ethiopia. But that dream was only realized this year. That's when the road from Isiolo, for those who come from Kenya, to Moyale is now complete, fully tarmacked, connecting the region, making the region trade flows as easy as possible. If you look at the standard gauge railway line, I think the last time we added an inch of the East African railways was in the last century. And particularly in Kenya and Uganda, I think it was in 1905. That was the last time we added an inch. Now you can see we're putting up a standard gauge railway line all the way from Mombasa to Kigali. So essentially you find huge, massive infrastructure. The objective is not infrastructure for the sake of infrastructure, is to make the region globally competitive as an investment destination, reduce the cost of doing business, increase logistic capability within the East African community. So you see whether it is Tanzania, very busy putting up both the central and the northern corridor railway line. You see Kenya and Tanzania competing who will open up Rwanda and Uganda first with a standard gauge railway line, a pipeline. It's a crazy effort to try and make this region a trading bloc of a common market that has requisite infrastructure. Now, a lot is happening because of that. If you look like this is a map of Kenya, all the dots you can see are the flagship projects to start and to inspire the private sector to jump into this transformational story. And this is true in Rwanda. You see the same in Tanzania, and you see the same in Uganda. Government spending massively on enablers so that essentially the private sector can be able to. The consequences or the impact have started coming up. And I've just picked one country, Kenya, the urbanization. Those of you who left about 20 years ago, and we can talk about the year 2000 or thereabout, we could see in Kenya only 5 million people were living in urban centers, all the urban centers put together. As we speak, you find that population have climbed from 5 million to 17 million, almost having now a third or more than a third of the population in urban centers. By the time we realize Kenya's Vision 2030, by the year 2030, we'll have 38 million people in Kenya living in urban centers with only 22 million people living in rural areas. Now, That's the opportunity I came to tell you. Those people living in urban centers will require to be housed. Most of them, as they migrate, they can't be able to come with rural capability to finance the dwelling places in urban centers. Require people like you to come and provide housing in our urban centers. Kenya particularly, because of the county government structure or devolved government structure, we have 47 headquarters of county governments. Now, those county governments, there is a governor, there is 15 ministers of the county, there are about 30 members, local parliament, all living. They require facilities for education for their children, health facilities for their families, and to be able to live in the counties. That is a huge, massive opportunity for you to invest in, because the counties don't have the money. Maybe even the governor lives in a private house rented by the county. These are the massive opportunities. But if you don't want to take the huge weightlifting of real estate development, that population, 2/3 of the population living in urban centers, require to feed on processed food. It's not any longer raw food from the farm. We need massive transformation in terms of provisions in our urban centers. Days are gone when we used every month to go to the village to pick food for the next 1 month. Everybody now, like you, who have no farm you go to, we also feed from the shops. And essentially, we need to stock the shelves of the supermarkets and the retail shops. We're not going to stock them with retail food. We need processed agricultural produce for straight for the kitchen. We have also equally become a little bit busy like yourself. We want ready to eat. So the food is no longer just something to be microwaved. So essentially, the lifestyle is also changing. So essentially, we're saying, who is there? Who has the capability? Who have the competence to help us transform that value chain so that from agriculture we have ready for the plate? Who can help process our agricultural produce for the shelf? And we think you have the experience, you have the exposure, and you have the standards. Why? Because we want to be globally competitive. Don't tell us to invent processing of food. We want to take the best practices so our urban centers become globally competitive, so that when Bill comes from America, he finds the same quality of food stuff that he finds in America. So it's only Americans, those who have had the exposure in America, who could know Bill's standards, because you share the standards. That opportunity is yours. If you don't come back as East Africans, then we shall invite Bill to come and do. And that is basically where you see the essence of my coming is to tell you, this is the entry point. Miss it, it will be very expensive for you to come and settle back home. The way you found it very expensive here to buy the first home, it will be equally expensive when you come back home, because the country will have moved to the next level. So essentially, urbanization provides you with the biggest investment opportunities, because that population, 2/3 of the population, in the next 15 years, living in urban centers, setting up a factory will take you 2-3 years. So 15 years is a very short period of time. So it needs to be taken up and hopefully taken. And I think we are also saying education. The public sector may not be able to expand the schools in urban centers. We need private schools in urban centers. We need private health facilities in urban centers if we are able to take care of this population. We need the theater. We now can afford a ticket weekly, like you do. You know, the incomes have gone up, and I will give you the aggregate. So essentially we are saying the lifestyle that you are used to, please bring it and come and lift us to the same lifestyle and make a business case for yourself. Now, let me jump a little bit and talk about one issue that I've been confronted of. James, is it secure? Security? You are obsessed with the security. I think here you might have missed a transformation. The East African region has really focused on security. Those who know, this year, Kenya has registered a 27% growth in hotel booking, simply because security has significantly improved over the last 4 years. The amount of spending, it might have taken Kenya to go to Somalia with defense forces to try and solve the security problem. It might have forced quite a lot of expenditure in that area, armored car, like Israeli vehicles and all that, but essentially it was necessary. If you look at Rwanda, because I travel in Rwanda regularly, if you look at Tanzania, if you look at Uganda, maybe it might be safer to be in Nairobi than maybe to be in Dallas. And also, it is also your responsibility to make Nairobi safer. If you don't do it, who will do it for you? Essentially, we need to be part of the solution. We can't just be complaining and whining and nagging those who chose to remain like me. Improve security. I've been there for the last 20 years that you have been here. Essentially, we need to start. The second one is the issue of corruption. Essentially, corruption is dealt with the institutions. And basically what we have seen the East African countries doing is set up institutional framework to deal with this scourge. But it's a scourge in a phase of development. Again, all countries go through this. And if you read the American history, it will tell you a lot. If you read the European history, particularly of the 18th century, it will tell you a lot the phase that countries go through transition. So essentially, the question is, are the countries putting in place the institutional frameworks to deal with this? And my answer and my submission is yes. And specifically, if you look at Kenya, the separation of the registration and the judiciary, you can see the tension that what you can call creative, positive, constructive tension as Parliament tries to investigate everything that happened at NYS. And the judiciary is saying, bring them, we are ready. So once you start creating the systems, then you can deal with the issue of democracy. Again, the space, particularly in Kenya, I think Kenya might be a shining example here. The space has been opened. And the best way of opening space is creating legal framework. The new constitutional framework, those who have bothered to read it, is more aspirational than the Canadian Constitution. And the Canadian Constitution is one of the most progressive ones in the world. We believe the Kenyan Constitution is more progressive. I think we went overboard. You know, sometimes when you make a constitution during crisis, you registrate what not to do. I think in 30 years, if you look at our constitution, it says more of what not to do other than what to do. Because we wanted to outthrow all the wrong things. And essentially, it might be pretty strong in that regard, but we'll see what comes out of it once it's fully executed. So I would say the space is improving. And the best thing is to be part of that improvement. Make a contribution, be critical when you're within the country, and we'll see. So these political systems are really transforming and changing. Let me add up a little bit on Enabras, because this is where the huge opportunities are. Today I was very excited. I met a team here who said, we see a huge opportunity with this standard gauge railway line to provide logistics alongside infrastructure. A railway infrastructure requires massive investment to unlock the opportunities. It's not as a nailing snake of metal. It requires a huge investment to support it. This standard gauge railway line really is opening the East African region the way the US was opened back in 70 years ago by the railway infrastructure in this country. So essentially, you should not be seeing railway lines. You should be seeing opportunities to invest alongside the railway corridors. The same with airports. And essentially what we are now seeing is airports that can support global logistic centers around them. If you look at the way Jomo Kenyatta is being structured, it can support a global logistics center alongside the airport. And that's what we see. But it's the size of the infrastructure development that you need to focus on. It's not a one single project. If you look, and I'll keep on, let's look at during the Mombasa-Nakuru highway. From Mombasa, you make it a 6-lane highway. What does that mean? When I travel along the US highways, look at the logistic opportunities, the fueling. When you talk about 6 lanes, 3 on each side, parallel to each other, the consumption capacity of the human traffic being ferried on such a highway is amazing. So essentially, that's what I see from that part. And this is the way the highways are looking like. We are learning, but you can see we no longer have potholes. And essentially, this is, and you can see the opportunity. Look, the number of cars are very few. Can you imagine this kind of a road here and how it will be? So essentially, we seem to be running ahead of ourselves. What does that mean? It is a huge opportunity being opened by this infrastructure. I think this is the most ambitious project people talk about, the Ramu Corridor, the RAPSET project. We know we are forecast of up to Juba, but we would like to say it is intended to be an overhead bridge between the east and the west. And it could save about 42 days of sailing across the Cape of Good Hope for goods and services, either going to the west from the east or going to the east from the west. And you could then imagine our country being a hub for such traffic from the east, from the west, headed to India and China. Look at the opportunity, what it will be. Now, the question is, once this corridor is built and you have not acquired an opportunity at that point in time, when it is completed, will you be able to afford with the savings that you have made in America? The appreciation in value of the opportunities is 10, 20, 100 times faster than the accumulation of savings you can make from your current operations. Because that is history. That's what has always happened with infrastructure development. That's always what has happened worldwide. So we will not, so this, I may say, because people think it has always been a dream. The first 3 berths are under construction, fully funded. So we know Lamu is coming alive. The road from very good. The road from Isiolo to Moyale is complete. The road from Kitale to Nandaba on the border to South Sudan is under construction. So we are just remaining a very small section, which is also already motorable. But we now need to put it to tarmac status to open that whole corridor. Once we open that whole corridor, the pressure for flood that we have had on the northern corridor, Mombasa to Busia, will ease completely, because the opportunities will be bigger on this southern corridor or upset corridor than on the northern corridor. Why? Because you'll be focusing on that trade that we have talked about, the east and the west, but more importantly, the 95 million population in Ethiopia. So essentially you start seeing this corridor, the traffic that it will be handling. We talk about Murorongo, Voi, and whatever else we talk about. The type of cities that are likely to be on this corridor will be much massive and much bigger because the traffic on that corridor. The question is, 20 years to come, what will be the price of that opportunity compared to the price today? Timing is essential. Now, if you look at this corridor, one thing that is also certain beyond the road is the pipeline. Why? Because the oil fields for Kenya are around, the corridor that we saw near the border with South Sudan. So that to harvest that oil, you have no choice to. So you have pipeline, road, railway. Railway we can talk about it later, but Ethiopia can cause the railway to be built faster than maybe we assume, because these are regional infrastructure project. And this is the same, and we shall see the same replica with Uganda. Alex, you might want to help me. The pointer seems to. Now, this is the proposed infrastructure that we will be talking about. Now, the second one is energy. Energy is now being produced on private-public partnership. And the question is, if you really managed to get even 2 megawatts as a person to feed to the national grid, why wouldn't you retire at your present age? Because that is infrastructure. The best investments are normally infrastructure. Why? Because you have a 30-year contract to feed into the national grid. It's guaranteed income. And it's annuities that you can maybe write off the cost of investment within 12, 14 years. The rest of 16 years is nothing but profit. Now, these are some of the areas, I think, huge opportunity in geothermal, wind power, and the rest. A lot is happening. As you can see, some of them are small, 100 megawatts, 140 megawatts, and that is what Diaspora might see as huge opportunity. The demand, as we can see, for East African power is as high as that. But remember, even by 2030, when we have 33,000 megawatts, South Africa as a country will still be at around 60,000. So it's still very small amount of power. But it's no longer power for domestic purpose. It's for industrialization. It's for powering the infrastructure we are talking about. And of course, we can see the effect on cost. It has started, power in Kenya has gone up, down by about 40%. Essentially, it's now becoming fairly more competitive than ever before. So all these projects, I don't think I need to. Now, this is an industry that is interesting. In all the visions initially as they were being formulated, none of them took into account oil, gas as a resource for the countries. But we know Tanzania has almost finished its gas pipeline. It will be generating most of its power from its natural gas. It's one of the most endowed natural gas countries now in the world. Uganda and Kenya both has found oil, commercially viable quantities. And suddenly, countries that, as the commercial attaché said, they are growing at an average of between 7 and 8 consistently without natural resources. Very diversified economies, tourism, commerce, trade, agriculture, basic manufacturing is what is powering that GDP. What about when you diversify these economies and put gas and oil? These countries can grow at anything between 12 and 14% consistently. Not necessarily because of the money. Let's look for Kenya, for instance. Kenya just needs to produce enough oil for domestic consumption, and then it saves 26% of its import bill. Now, if Kenya was to stop spending 26% of its import bill, immediately the structure of the economy would transform. Most likely then we would see the dollar to the Kenyan shilling coming down to 60. Simply by substitution, import substitution. Then the 26 becomes available for capital goods to come and make the country lead their manufacturing. So essentially we are seeing, and maybe Uganda might be better. Uganda has proven reserves that are 3 times the reserves that we have in Kenya. But it's the ability of the East African countries coming together to exploit this resource that might hold the ultimate winning card. And so the concept of LAPSET, where all these countries, they put their petrochemical industries, for instance, in Lamu, would really give them the economies of scale. Individually, maybe none of these countries can own a refinery. But if they came together, they could easily be able not to export just raw material, crude oil, they could most likely be able to refine with one refinery. So that ability, so we are very excited about the East African community concept. So part of it, let's look at this pipeline. This pipeline is not going to be constructed by government. If I were you, I would be involved in this because this is better than rental houses. This is real estate. And there is no month you will have a tenant out. All will be flowing every day. There is no question that the tenant has moved, refurbishing and the rest. We all know how pipelines are constructed. It is cubic oil passing through times a rate. It's as simple as that. We don't have this type of money back home. This is diaspora's opportunity. If not, then we give it to international. Now, the second biggest opportunity is in education. And education, those who know, we have moved from 3 universities in 7 years to 27 public universities. From 3 to 27. At the same time, registering another 37 private universities in Kenya. So we are talking of 37 plus 27. If I'm not mistaken, that is about 74 universities. Now, the government cannot be able to afford building the infrastructure. So what has the government opted for? Private-public partnerships. It tells you build the laboratory block and peak rent for the next 25 to 30 years, and then you can transfer back. The same with hostels. So there is no question of saying you are building real estate without a known tenant. It's basically annuities. The same has been done, like in Kenya, 20,000 police houses. We all know how the police houses used to look like. They are now being done on what the government pays them as rent to go and look for houses. They're saying, okay, let's put the houses, and that becomes an annuity. The same with the infrastructure. It's annuity, develop, and then you'll be paid from the budget on. So essentially, huge, massive opportunities are coming around. Now, this is a huge opportunity, particularly for people within this corridor in terms of ICT. The countries in East Africa have decided to change the culture of the people to an innovative ICT culture. And the way to do it is introduce laptops or pads to school, to children when they walk to school. So in Kenya, every year we are ordering 1.2 million iPads so that every child going to school gets one. And the question is, why should we continue to manufacture 1.2 million computers in China when you have the knowledge here? The market is ready, 1.2 by your government, an order every year. I hope you will not complain again if it is given to Bill. You really need to see these opportunities. It's very difficult for somebody to come to invite you. But as a chairman of Vision 2030, I've been very frustrated seeing how much, and I'll show you how much is going to international community. I think we talked about agriculture, the reason why this is true of Tanzania, is true of Uganda, is true of Rwanda, is true of Kenya. We need to transform our agriculture. If I were you, the biggest opportunity in agriculture is not going to own a piece of land and tilling, is providing logistic supply chain for agricultural transformation. Own just 2 tractors and hire 2 or 4 truck drivers, tractors, and there you are. We have to mechanize agriculture the way it has been mechanized. My children and your children are not willing to take the jebe, the panga, and the hoe to do raditiri. That to me is the biggest opportunity in transformation. Mechanization of productivity must be enhanced if we have to continue to focus. I think housing, we have talked about it a lot. Industrialization, starting with particularly agricultural processing, fast consumer goods. Really, you can imagine we still import tissue paper, sometimes all the way from America, because of quality. Why don't you come and manufacture that quality in Kenya? We now can afford quality. So essentially, you are aware of the quality that is required. Solid waste management might be one of the biggest opportunities. As you urbanize, the waste is aggregated again in urban centers. It will be heaps of garbage if it is not dealt with. This is really a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's a basic necessity, and that is a lot business. Again, tourism. As you left, we're still where we were as the East African. The Tanzanians own Serengeti, the wildebeest, you know. The Kenyans, we own Mala, the lions, the cheetahs. But of course, Rwanda and Uganda share the gorillas. And you know what? Bill and his American family always pay a ticket every 5 years to come and see the lion in Masai Mara. The objective of the trip is to come and, but the only thing we own is the lion. So we charge Bill $20 at the gate per day. So he stays there for 3 days. And he pays $60. But Serena, with its camp inside there, charges Bill $60 1,000 Kenya shillings every night. And the airline charges him 800,000 for business class ticket per member of the family. The question is, where should we be in the value chain? Keeping animals or owning hotels? And essentially what you are saying, the people who have the capacity to have this type of experience of hotels is you. We will know kiosks and restaurants, but that is not for the tourist class. The tourist class require a hotel like this, which you are used to. You can see where you brought us. So essentially, we're saying the value chains provide huge opportunity. I think the biggest opportunity, I'm a tea farmer, and every time I come here, I refuse to take tea because I can't pay, I can't bring myself to pay $7 for a cup of tea, for a sachet of 100 grams. And then I'm paid 42 shillings for a kilo of tea. You know, that's the most annoying thing. I know 1 kilogram of tea has 1,000 sachets of 100 grams. So when I compute with 7, I see $7,000. I convert to Kenya shillings, 700,000 Kenya shillings, and I'm paid 42. Who gets the rest of the money? And the question is, why don't you become the middleman? If it is you taking away from me, I won't mind, because you might employ my children. But Bill taking it away from me, I'm not sure there is fairness, because he's unlikely to employ my children who are still in Kenya. So essentially what we are saying is that there is a huge opportunity. Oh, thank you very much. There is a huge opportunity in looking at our value chains. Our value chains, whether it is coffee, it's only growing beans. Whether it is tea, it's only the leaves, the two buds, the 2 leaves and a bud. And then we pack it in 50 kilogram sacks, as if tea is taken in sacks of 50 kilograms. Essentially, it's no-brainer that tea is taken in sachets of 100 grams. Why don't you come and help us to add just value of packaging? You know, we don't take this tea. We take the tea that you put a spoon in and put in the sufuria. So we don't know about sachets. So if you know about the sachets, why don't you come and pack it and take the 700,000? We will say it's our sons and daughters. The same with the coffee. The same with every value chain you take, we are the primary producer. Anything else above the production, primary production, we will keep animals for tourists. We will grow coffee for coffee drinkers. We will grow tea bushes for tea drinkers. But the whole value chain to the supermarket, we don't play any role. I think that is the biggest role. That's where money is. Money is not in America, because you are going to pay $7 for that tea. Money is taking that value that is being created here. And you know, you have the know-how. So you can see the value chain in the hotels that we need to put up. If you can't manage a hotel, at least do the real estate so that you can be getting the rental. I think the banking industry provides a huge opportunity. As incomes go up, the fastest growing industry is the aggregators, and the banking industry aggregate national production. So as the national production goes up, that measures the size of the bank. I will show you an example. So importantly, please visit the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And I'll give you the case of equity, and then you can compare with the returns you have been making in investing here in the US. I think we have talked about health. it's interesting to see the transformation that you can do by investing in equipment. For the first time in sub-Saharan Africa, an African hospital have been able to separate conjoined twins. That was done in Kenyatta National Hospital. The doctors have been there for many years, but they never had the equipment. It sounds funny, but for the first time now since independence, we have also done a cesarean operation in Moyale. Why? Because Moyale Hospital has been fully equipped to be able to deal with such things. So essentially, there is quite a lot in terms of opportunities to do. ICT, of course, we don't want to be left in this transformation. Every country is doing a smart city. Every country is doing a techno city. Please be the investors in these techno cities as they open. So the same issues I talked about Kenya is what Tanzania is talking. You can see the presentation. It's the same mining. Let me talk a little bit about mining. Mining is a huge opportunity. For a long time, since 1946, we had never changed the Mining Act. Kenya, for once, managed to change the Mining Act. And mining is expected to move from contributing 1% of GDP to 14% of the GDP. The question is, who will be in the mining value chain? Will we just be the owners of the mines and not in the value chain of cutting? You know, essentially, the question is, who can do it other than our diaspora? We sent you to acquire the knowledge. We are now saying, bring back the knowledge because the opportunities are there. You came here because there are no opportunities. I dare to tell you, there are more opportunities in your country, whether it is Rwanda or Kenya, than here in America. The tide has changed. And as you can see, anybody with a boat in the water, it is being lifted because it's the tide that is lifting every boat. You don't need to be leading. So again, agriculture, trade, and we are seeing the infrastructure. The same infrastructure that we were talking about Kenya is the same infrastructure opportunity, the same real estate. Look at the real estate. You may think you are in China. This is in Tanzania. Now, you are best positioned to be helping us put up these real estate. You'll be surprised. Most of the real estate in Kenya is now being put by Chinese. And you are struggling to put real estate in America. Look at the techno city and smart city in Arusha. Now, the same with Uganda. Again, it's the same investment opportunities, exactly the same with Rwanda. So I don't want to keep on repeating any of them because we invited you for dinner. But let me close the head by sharing one or two. Now, this is the growth highlights. Look at sub-Saharan Africa and Kenya. Over a long period, we are talking over a long period. And that is why you see the huge opportunities, the diversification in the economy, the growing working population, the growing middle income, the positioning of sub-Saharan Africa. We are now the stability in currencies, the power generation where the countries have moved. You can see stability in power generation in Africa. South Africa #1, Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania is not far. So essentially we are seeing stability in exchange rates, particularly within the East African community. Again, because of the common market effect and inflations and all that are now tamed. I don't want to keep, but let's look at this. Since we started Vision 2030 in Kenya, GDP per capita was $826. dollars, GDP per capita, dollars, 800. Today, Kenya is at 1,500 in 10 years. We have doubled. If we double in the next 10 years, we'll be talking about $3,000 GDP per capita. Almost everybody will be a middle income. Everybody can afford proper consumption. The question is, who will be feeding that consumption? Who will be manufacturing for that consumption? Again, will we miss the opportunity? And then we will be coming to buy industries that have been built instead of us building the industries. So generally, we are saying the microeconomic environment in the East African community generally have really improved. They are stable. Now, this is the most interesting. Look at that slide. All these are the companies. Most of them have a lot to do with America. General Electric Group. Now, all these has now their African headquarters in East Africa. You worked for them here, they left you here, and they came to set their headquarters for Africa in your home country. If nothing else, ask them to transfer you and work in the East African office. You'll be nearer home, and you'll be able to make your contribution. But if I were you, I would ask them, I'd be their partner. I would ask them to be their supply chain, part of their supply chain. Because these companies don't produce everything. They really almost produce nothing. They are just masters of logistics. Everybody else produces. Why don't we produce for them instead of working for them? They are now back at your backyard. And if you look at the others, this is in a space of 5 years, just 5 years. What does that tell? It tells there is something magical happening within East Africa. Never in our history have we ever seen a stampede of international capital to East Africa the way it is. Never in our history. Something is happening. How can the foreigners see what is happening without us seeing? Then they take the opportunity, and then they are selling the opportunity back to us. Look at the hotels. You'll be shocked. Kigali now hosts the first Marriott hotel in sub-Saharan Africa. 12 million people. And you can ask, how can Marriott start with Rwanda and not Nigeria? With 200 million people. There is something happening within the East African region. And all that I just wanted, I may not know what is happening, but I better tell you so that you find for yourself. And also, now, let's look at the people who are visiting East Africa and who have visited East Africa in the past. When you used to be in East Africa, who used to visit your country? Sometimes we know who you are by the type of people we see visiting you. The type of car they drive, the way they dress, the way their children play around, whether they are with bicycles or they are with... It tells me. Now, if you look, and the visits I will highlight are the ones that have taken place in the last 2 years only. So let's start there. The two global superpowers, almost outpacing each other to visit you. First African country to be visited by the new Pope. Israel, Japan, Turkey, Italy, India, South Korea. And you can see they are leaving you here in America and visiting your home. And going to eat fish where? There must be something. We have never had this type of visitors in the past. In our living memory, we had never been visited by an American president, neither a Japanese prime minister. And the Pope, the last time he came, we can't remember when it was. And suddenly, the geopolitics of East Africa is changing significantly. Significantly. The relevance of your home region is changing significantly. And the question is then, let's look at this. This is ranking of Kenya. Best African economy to invest. For the first time, Kenya has overtaken South Africa and Nigeria to become the best investment destination in Africa. It has also overtaken South Africa and Nigeria in number of investments that have been made over the last 1 year. And as you can see, a lot is happening back home. These are independent world-leading safari destinations suddenly because... Now, I just want to close by showing you, we decided to let us see what is happening and tie ourselves with the transformation and then see what has happened to a company or what could happen to you if you tied yourself. You all knew equity. This is how you left equity in 2000. Equity, we only became a bank in 2005. So you can assume this is 2004. How many years ago? 12 years ago. Now, that is how our performance was. The total deposit was 31. Me, I joined when it was 24 in 1991. And it was losses year in, year out. It's not the bar graph that is upside down. It's performance that was negative. And shareholders' funds were eroded to a negative of 33. We were technically insolvent. And then we said, something is happening here, we'll be part of it. And we didn't have capital, but we formed corporate philosophies. But look, from 2004, when the number of customers have moved from 200,000 to 11 million customers, making us Africa's largest bank by customer base. I just wanted to give you a testimony of what is happening now. This may be the story of Safaricom. Remember, Safaricom is also 16 years old. It's not older than Equity. But look at the company that the region has built within that period. Look at the Equity built in 14 years. If you look, we are talking now, look at the amount of money from a deposit base of 5 billion to 331 billion. If you divide the 331 by 3, how can you grow 100 times in 10 years? If you grow that way, how wealth do you create? And that's what I said, it's more than you can create in California or in Dallas. If you look at the growth of loan book, from 1 billion to 271 billion, 270 times growth within a period of 10 years. And look at the profit. From what we were seeing losses of 5 million every year to a profit last year of 24 billion shillings. Which company can grow that way in Dallas? I told you it is better home. Because this opportunity, it is the sea level that is rising. So everybody in every boat that is in the water is rising. When you come, we'll sell you the shares of Equity Bank. but you can see what you'll be paying for. Let's look at total assets. From 3 billion to half a trillion shillings. Me, I never thought in my imagination that equity can be half a trillion shillings. But timing was perfect. We were there the right time when the region was taking off. Look at shareholders' funds. We saw a negative of 33 million. Then 2003 when the vision started, we had only 3 billion in total assets. In shareholders' funds, we had only have $1 billion. We're now talking of 81 billion shillings of shareholders' funds generated from profit. If you're generating 24 billion every year, to build 8 billion is a matter of, you saw the buildings you left home. Look at the buildings. This is your Diaspora banking hall. I'm not sure the one you go here looks like this. But this is the one if you come back to home. Now, this is the one I want to focus on, the wealth being created. We're talking about before that 14 years, 1 share in equity was 20 shillings. But because of that rapid growth, in 2000, we did a split of 1 to 3. So 1 share became 4 shares. 2004, another bonus of 1 to 5. The 4 shares became 20. In 2007, another bonus of 1 to 3. The 20 shares became 60. And in 2009, a split of 1 to 10. The 60 shares became 600 shares. 1 share becoming 600 shares in a period of 10 years. 1 share. Why? Because of that growth. We were seeing curves growing, but those curves, this is what they mean in wealth creation. So the share that was costing 20 shillings, as at that date, was costing 50 shillings. So 50 shillings times 600, you see 20 shillings have become 30,300. A growth of 151,000%. I want to say the story of Safaricom is even sweeter than equity. And I'm sure KCB has been the same. Umeme in Uganda have almost demonstrated the same. BK in Rwanda has reflected the same. Now look at, because those number of wealth might look magical, look at the way the balance sheet was growing. Total funding from 29 million shillings in 1991, I joined in 1991, to 300 in 96. 10 times, you grow 10 times balance sheet every 5 years. From 300 to 1.6 billion. From 1.6 billion to 16 billion. From 16 billion to 160 billion. And why wouldn't you be able to look at the profit? From loss of 4 million to 10 million. From 10 to 55. From 55 to 1.1 billion. From 1 billion to 12 billion. 12 billion to 24 billion. That is true of most of the industries, particularly the consumer-facing industries. I thought I should tell you this story. Now you can see the headquarters. You can compare the one you left and where we are now. Total transformation. Economies transform actors in the private sector. And you can see, maybe this one allow me to show you, because this is third-party confirmation. This is, I think, on May, foreigners push equity stock past KCB at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. As you can see, it's not you buying shares. It's foreigners. Then when equity matures, they sell it back to you. 50% of Equity Bank is now foreign-owned, yet we have never issued shares to foreigners. They're bought from our own people. I wish it was you who were buying. Why? Because as you can see, Equity there is 150 billion shilling in Nairobi Stock Exchange. KCB is 120. Who could have expected Equity Building Society, Muiganania, can become bigger than the KCB? Who could have imagined? But it's all that now what we have done is to import the talent. And I wish it was you who was willing to come and work with us. And you can see, look at 30th June this year. Equity market cap 143 billion, KCB 99 billion. 1.5 times bigger. Look at the bank that you thought was very big when you left Barclays and Standard, the biggest international banks. We are 3 times bigger than the Barclays Bank. The opportunities. And our people are discerning now. People want to develop their own institutions. A civilization is known by the institutions it has created for itself. Show me a country that is developed, then I will show you a country with local capital. You can never develop on the back of foreign capital. Why? Because foreign capital becomes a conveyor belt for transfer of wealth. We need to develop. Our people have realized. So if you invest, they will support you. Social impact. As a sign of gratitude, we decided to invest part of this money back to be an agent of transformation. And most of you knows about Wings to Fly. We now have 12,477 kids in secondary school. Alliance boys and Alliance girls lead the schools. They have about 600 children every time. And we are glad that 87% of those are orphans. So we have decided to give back. And then we also decided to pick the best boy and the best girl in our district secondary education. We push them together. We try to coach and mentor them. 10% of them come mainly to the US. We now have 393. I wish we were with you last night. We had 18 from Berkeley, California. You can imagine a country setting. This year we sent 12 kids to Berkeley and 6 to Stanford from these countries. So in total, we have 393. And around here, you are hosting one. Amazing. Where is the young man? I had invited him to join us. Please come. So you help us explore a few opportunities where we could be able to put up with these young kids. We have about 32 kids in Harvard University from Kenya. So essentially, we said, you can say hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Frederick Opado, and I'm going for my master's in electrical engineering at Baylor University down here in Weko. And I joined Baylor University last year it was in July. It was in July last year. I'm majoring mostly in power engineering, so I'll be graduating in May next year, and I've been part of the Equity family since the year 2006 when I finished my Form 4 or high school in Kenya. I was the best in Kajiado district, so I joined them and I worked with them. When I joined my university in Kenya when I did my bachelor's degree in the University of Nairobi. So I used to work there every summer break. And when I graduated from the University of Nairobi, I worked there for 1.5 years as a data center power engineer. Then I got an opportunity for a master's degree here in Texas, and I came here. Though now I'm now a former employee, but I'm still a member of the bank. I still feel as part of the Yeah, so it's been a great pleasure, and I really appreciate I appreciate all the investment they do. I appreciate all the investment. I appreciate all the investment done by the bank to young people in Kenya, and it has a very great opportunity to support the bank in bringing up bring back. If support our banking, bring back support our banking, bring up all the talent that is in Kenya. So, yeah, I'm very much grateful.
Thank you. So, thank you. So, essentially, what the bank decided is with these 400 kids in the US, if you don't come back, we'll bring them back. Because these ones, we brought them here, then we can take them back home. But I think the thing is they don't have the experience you have. And that's what is important. Experience is very, very important. The last one I want to say is if you get to these kids, please provide them a home in the US. So you go and sit here and see who can adopt. So essentially, fees is paid, it's full scholarship, but they need more than a scholarship. When they come here, they want to be socialized, and it's really, we find it interesting. You can use the seated on. So essentially, that's what we thought. What we socialize them so that when they come back, we are very lucky. I look back, the great airlift that produced Wangari Maathai, the Barack Obama Senior, and the others. Remember, there were just about 190. Now with 400, and this time, all of them going to Ivy League schools, what will happen? When you have 50 kids in US Berkeley and Stanford, then you have MIT and Harvard, another 50 in one country, in one generation. In 5 years, we can imagine the power they will bring back to the country. So essentially, but they need to be exposed. So we learned a lot from the best students that it can be done, and then we decided to mix the best students with the most gifted but needy. So what we do is that like now, when the exam came out, every district is given 25 scholarships for orphans and needy. So it picks a child who must have met 350. The community decide which children to educate. But we verify that is the most needy. So with the 12,000, that's almost like an army. It's like almost the population of Kenyans maybe in Dallas. Oh, these are more. Yeah. 12,000, so we think that is a huge contribution. So what I want to say is, when you bank with equity, you are the one educating these kids. So bank with equity, if not because of good product, because of the social impact. And these are the photos of the kids. You can see these are the ones now joining the university every year. These are the ones, these were 3,000. These are the ones who did, when President Kibaki was leaving office, that was his last cohort to commission. They did their exams this year, 3,000. We expect 2,600 will join public universities. Out of that, we hope we'll be able to bring to the US about 150. And then the 400, we'll put them through polytechnics so that they get those who are not able to get university. So none of the children is wasted. And essentially, that's how you build the human capital of the bank. Then we decided we can't take to school people who are already in occupation, but we decided to train them on finance. Over the last 3 years, we have trained 1.3 million Kenyans on a 13-week financial literacy program so that they become financially literate. They are able to negotiate financial transactions from a point of knowledge and strength. And that is the total impact. So far, we have spent $221 million on these programs. That's about 22 billion, almost 23 billion Kenya shillings. I must say we have been supported by MasterCard Foundation. MasterCard has given us so far 5,000 kids. They have committed another 5,000 kids. So in total, we believe in 10 years, we shall have educated between 20 and 30,000 kids. Then we'll say we made our contribution. This is the size of Equity. Equity is now a 13 company, a group of 13 companies. 6 of them are banking subsidiaries in 6 different countries, and the other 7 are things like brokerage, things like investment bank, insurance agency, and the rest, and of course Equity. Look at why has Equity outperformed any other company in sub-Saharan Africa? It's because we focused on talent. We said a company can never be better than its people. It is a mirror reflection of the people that leads. And that is why I want to appeal to you. Our country will never be better than the leaders that we have, both in private and public sector. So you can come and transform the country from the private sector. If we have the most astute business people, the country will be astutely competitive globally. So it is important you make your contribution. So you can see the skills. But what is shocking is that if you look at this gentleman here, at the David Ansel, he's an American. Just before we came in, I was sitting with the Council of East African Council, board members. 5 of them were bankers, young, gifted, talented. But you can see they are refusing to come home. So what am I coming? To a retired American to come and join the board. It is imperative you make a contribution to your home country. If you look at the other gentleman there at the top, number 4, he's South African, taking talent away. The one down below him, South African. Of course, Wadis can recognize Evelyn, your former Director General, is on the holding group of the board of the bank. If you look at money, that's also the same with the board, and most of these are US educated youngsters that we have collected to provide policy guidance, and most of them you can tell them. If you look like Patrick there, the former chief finance officer of MTN in Rwanda. So it is a combination of people from the region, the board of Equity Bank. But let's look at management, and this is where I want to stop. If you look, number 5, John Stanley, South African. If you look at the second row, number 2, Jumane is from Guyana. How can I be leaving you here to go to Latin America to get a director? You look at number 3, Lohit is from India. You look, Alex, you can tell from the name, that is a Russian. Now, that's the question. Your country has progressed. It requires sophisticated skills and competencies. And instead of you taking advantage of these opportunities, we are going to look for people in Russia. There is a contradiction somewhere. You came here because there were no opportunities. Your country produced opportunities, but it's Russians who are seeing the opportunities other than you. It's the South Africans. It's from Guyana. Let's look at the next page. The first person at the bottom there, if you look, Neil, is from Jamaica. How can the Kenyans be importing people from Jamaica and exporting people to America? This is true, the complexity of the East African community requires sophisticated skills. We can't be globally competitive without globally competitive human capital. And we were very lucky that we experienced a brain drain early when we had no opportunity. When we have opportunities, the brain drain is supposed to convert into a brain gain. Really, be open. One of the countries that has made the greatest progress is Rwanda. Why? Because Rwandese have agreed to go back home. Completely. If you look at the number 3 on the top line, Philip, that is a German. Really? If I can afford to pay a German, why can't I be able to afford to pay a Kenyan? So if you look at number 2 at the bottom, Brent is a Filipino. You know, the thing is, we need more. If you look number 4 on the Manfred is South African. Lydia, what we are saying is that it is important. You see the region has opened. We can't be able to afford this human capital. If you look like this gentleman from last year, he holds a PhD from MIT on IT. The region can afford the skills that you have, but you have to be willing to make the transition back home. Equity is the most studied case, so you can download these case studies from the website of Equity, the investors portal. These are the partners. Let me add because I might have told you the story of Equity from my own perspective, but what do others think about Equity? Equity is in the rank of the top 1,000 banks in the world. It's ranked number 835. But what we take pride is not being number 835. We know that is because of the size of the Kenyan population, because we are competing with the banks in America with 350 million people, or Chinese banks, is that when it comes to soundness or solidness, we are ranked the 43rd best bank. So it's not me telling you. You can go and read. The bankers here know the booklet called The Banker. So you can share with, and we are number 8 best bank on return on assets. So if you are investing in banking stocks, the best stock to invest in is in Equity Bank worldwide. The other 7 might be difficult to get their shares, but Equity you can easily get because global credit rating AA. I'm sure you can see AA. We are rated higher than the country, and it's rare for a company to be rated higher than its country. We are the banker, African investor, this year named as the best broker in Africa. Again, we were named by Euromoney the best bank in Africa. So essentially, it's the best of breed. But sometimes it's at home where you are best known. This year, ranking of all the banks, Equity was ranked the best overall bank, the best tier 1 bank. There are only 6 banks in tier 1. That's the top age banks, the best SME bank, the best retail bank, the best microfinance bank, the best is almost the best in everything. Where we were not number 1, we were number 2, and at the worst, number 3. In all the trophies, categories that were given. So essentially that's the bank, but again it reflects the human skills. That's transparency. In 2007, we won the Global Vision Award. Essentially, after executing, we became the African Business Leadership Team. We won the Forbes Persons of the Year. Essentially, this we take a lot of pride. In 2012, Equity was named the World Enterprise of the Year, and I was very lucky as the CEO to be named as the World Entrepreneur of the Year. So essentially, it's entrepreneurship that also. So while the countries and the region has contributed a lot, we have also put the right management team with the right capabilities, with the right competence, and the right, this has given us huge opportunities because of our success to interact and serve in many global boards because of, so these are the
areas that I serve on the board because of Equity Bank, very significant. I represent maybe Africa in half of boards that Africa is represented globally. So you can see there are many, and we are really proud of the institution that East Africa has been able to produce. So in a nutshell, what we are saying, East Africa is able to support a world-class enterprise. The environment is conducive. We are in Rwanda, we are in Uganda, we are in Tanzania, we are in Kenya. And our success is a mere reflection of the business environment. The last question is not for me, it's for the managing director of the Diaspora Bank to tell you how he can help you to take advantage. But I will give him 10 minutes because then you can interact on one. Patrice, are you around? 10 minutes maximum. Dinner is served. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Habari ya asubuhi. You know, I was informed Dallas would be warm. I think someone lied to us because the cold. Thanks again for welcoming us here today. So as Dr. Mwangi has mentioned, so from an Equity Bank perspective, we're here to support you. Once you've been made aware of the opportunities. So the idea behind this is to create awareness about the investment opportunities which exist back home, and then our job as a bank from a diaspora perspective is to serve you. So we listen to your needs. We take that feedback back to our think tank, and then we come up with the products and the capabilities that then allow us to serve you best, so you can take advantage of those opportunities. So the piece I'll talk about is diaspora banking, and as you've heard from my boss, I've only been given 10 minutes, so I don't want to go too far over that. So I'll look at diaspora from an East African context, but we do have some of our colleagues from Uganda and Rwanda here, so I'll also give them a few minutes from my 10 minutes just for them to say something. So our tagline, as you saw from behind us, is work globally, bank locally. We take that seriously. We know you don't have the ability to come and visit us whenever you would like, and so our job is to create a virtual banking experience for you and to enable you to bank at whatever hours and through whichever channel makes sense to you, whether it's on a mobile platform or whether it's on an online platform. And so the banking relationship obviously begins with a deposit account. So for those of our customers that don't currently have one with us, there's multiple ways in which we can begin that banking experience with you. So we have a Diaspora Banking self-service portal, which I'll go over in a few minutes, where you can go in and open an account. We have an online banking transactional system called the EasyNet. That's one of the best out there. You can also begin a banking relationship with us there. We have a mobile banking app, which I'll also share in a few minutes how that works. Again, you can begin your banking relationship with us there, and then you can use the good old-fashioned email. There's also an option for post, but I recommend you don't use the postal services to begin a banking relationship with us in this new digital age. So we have regular current accounts, which are the transactional accounts, and then savings accounts, and then you can open accounts in multiple currencies depending on what suits your need, whether it's Kenya shilling, Uganda shilling, whether it's TZS, Rwandese franc. So all those options exist for you. And so the self-service portal, so let me highlight the capabilities that we've exposed and that we've enabled to you. So this self-service portal is for you. It's been built specifically for the diaspora. Going online, diaspora.equitybankgroup.com, create a profile. It's almost as easy as setting up a Facebook profile. This allows you to actually, so there's an online application where you can open an account there, fill in basic details, your national ID, passport, put in a phone number, date of birth, and you can begin a relationship with us there. You can manage your account there if you need to update any details. It also allows you to do a lot more functionality, which I'll share a bit. You can access money transfer services. You can apply for loans on that portal, and you can buy and sell shares. And I'll highlight that in a bit. So this is the account maintenance section of it. Our transactional banking system is called EasyNet. Again, just as easy for you to register for that. Go in, you put in a national ID, put a passport phone number, date of birth, and you can begin the relationship there with us. I'm not sure if you can see the screenshots that I'm sharing there. If you happen to forget your password, you can easily reset your password. One of the reasons I like to show this screen is to show you the security features that we've built into all our systems. Two-factor authentication, right? So you need a username, you need a password, and then in addition to that, you need to have your phone with you because we'll send a one-time PIN to your phone. And so you need to have all three of those for you to access any of our systems. EasyNet, which is a transactional system, allows you to do multiple things. You can send money back this way. We talk about send money back home, but there's people that also want to send money out, back here. And so the EasyNet system allows you to do that. You can do funds transfers within the East African region. So if we've got clients who operate in the East African region. And so if you have an account in Kenya but you have a business in Uganda, you can move funds within the East African region. You can schedule bill pay transactions, right? Same way you do with your banks here. If you have a recurring payment that you need to make on the 5th of every month, you can go in and set that up. You can apply for loans. You can view all your bank statements there, and you can buy and sell shares. All our systems pretty much allow you to do the same thing. So it's really up to you to decide which one works for you. Easy Banking app. This is one of the coolest things that we have. And so, how many people have a smartphone? By show of hands. I asked this question yesterday. Those that don't raise their hands, it means you have a mulika muzi, right? And I'm sure there's people that don't know what a mulika muzi is, so please explain to your neighbor. In case they're looking lost. So again, national ID or passport, phone number, date of birth, you can begin a relationship with us there. If you already have an account, you can actually link your account to the app. Just go to the Google Play Store, to the Google Store or the App Store, download the app. Takes only about 20 seconds to download the app. This app allows you to do many things. You can send money if you need to send money to M-Pesa, actually I should not say M-Pesa, if you need to send money to mobile wallets, or if you need to send money to other banks, if you need to send money to, if you need to pay bills, you can do that through the app. So this allows you to do that. It actually also allows you to buy goods for someone back home. I'm sure we all have relatives that will go to the store, then they'll call us or they'll SMS us and say, send me 10,000 bob, I need to buy 1, 2, 3, 4. But really, maybe they only needed 3,000 bob, right? And you know that, but you send them the 10,000. With this app, all they have to do is give you the till number, and you can actually pay for those goods directly from here. So you don't have to send them 10,000 bob. Use the remaining 7,000 to buy equity shares, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. You get real-time stock updates here, right? So if you want to see how the market is performing, you can do that here. You get currency updates as well. Again, if you want to see how the currency market is performing, you can set savings goals. You decide you want to buy a plot from one of our partners in the room, Optiven, and you need to save some money towards that. You go and you set the goal on the app. You say, I want to save 1 million bob by March 31st, and then you can actually start saving towards that. One of the other features that is not highlighted here that we like to talk about is you can actually send money to someone using social media, right? We all use, for those that have a smartphone and not the Milika Muzi generation, we all use WhatsApp. You can actually send money to someone using WhatsApp. So you just through the app, as long as you have their contact details, you can actually send money through that. So again, I encourage you, download the app and test it out and tell us what you think. I'm sure your local apps don't allow you to do that, right? Unless someone, what's that? The link, Google app, Google Play Store or Apple Store. You can download the app directly from there. If one of your local banking apps does WhatsApp, please let me know. And I might recant my statement. So, once you begin the banking relationship, then you need to move funds towards us. So we've partnered with some of the best money transfer organizations out there, some of whom are listed here. Getting money to us is relatively easy. You can use any of the channels listed here, or any of the local ones that you work with. Almost all of them allow you to move money directly to the bank account with us. And we're continuously working to increase the list of partners we work with, because we do realize that the more solutions we offer you, then the more competitive it becomes and it lowers your cost. And so we will continue to work. And with all these partners, we're looking at it from an East African standpoint, so not just Kenya. And then PayPal, we're the only bank in East and Central Africa allowed to allow you to move money from the PayPal ecosystem into a bank account. And so for those of you that use PayPal, we allow you to link your PayPal account to your Equity Bank and actually transfer funds from PayPal into Equity Bank. So you can use that as a channel and as a means through which to get money back home. Very, very, very cost effective. It's actually one of the most cost effective ways to move money. You can do that on the online banking platform, or you can do that on the self-service platform, where you can link your PayPal account and actually move funds from there into your Equity Bank account. And you can do it both in dollars or in local currency. And that's what the window looks like on the self-service portal. Investments. You want to take advantage of investment opportunities. You've heard from our CEO that there's opportunities out there to build hotels, to build hospitals. If you need financing, we do offer financing for that. You can apply for our loans online. You don't have to fill out paperwork. The approval process is very short, only about 5 days. We offer mortgage loans for fully developed projects. We offer construction loans if you have a piece of land and you want to construct, or if you want to buy a plot, we offer that. And we do that in different currencies. And then investment opportunities on the custody side. If you want to buy and sell shares, we can help you open a custody account. You actually don't need to come back home. I know that question comes up a lot. You know, do you need to physically be there to open a CDS account? You do not. We can take care of that on your behalf. You can go online on our self-service portal and you can open a custody account in a matter of maybe 30 minutes, and you can start buying and selling shares immediately. So we make that very easy for you. And again, most of this functionality is available on all our platforms, so not just one or the other. And then insurance products, we allow you to, we want you to take care of your loved ones back home. So whether it be on the healthcare side, you want to take care of your loved ones back home. We allow you to buy medical cover for them. If you have assets in the home, whether it be vehicles or on the real estate, we allow you to insure and to protect those assets. We have a last expense cover that we recently rolled out, and then life insurance. All this is also available on our online channel, so you can go in and apply for that there. The theme here is we want to enable you to do everything online, so we can make it easy for you. And then Easy Chama. But how many people know what a chama is? How many people are in a chama here? I'm sure everyone. So when we meet on Saturdays and we do our barbecue, and then after a while we decide we want to start saving money to do investments back home, this is where Easy Chama comes in. Easy Chama, think of it as online banking for chamas, right? So when you have that investment group, which is what a chama is, and you have to contribute on a regular basis, there's always one or two people that don't send money when they're supposed to, right? And those that are not laughing are probably the ones that don't send money when they're supposed to. So Easy Chama allows you to actually go in online, set up the investment group, put in all the members, whoever they are, and their email addresses and phone numbers, put in a schedule. How much are you supposed to give? When are you supposed to give it? And then it automates everything else for you. It'll be sending you email reminders. And you can actually penalize that person, assuming it's not the person setting up Easy Chama. It can penalize that person that does not send money in time. And then you go and link that with your Equity Bank account. So online banking for chamas. It's one of the coolest systems out there. I encourage you to check it out. easychama.co.ke. You won't find anything else like that out there. So in a nutshell, we're here to serve you from a diaspora perspective. I'll call for just 2 minutes my colleagues from Rwanda and Uganda and my colleague from Kenya just to come and wave their hands and say hi. We'll be in the room anyway after this, so if you guys want to chat with us. But we have, as our CEO mentioned, we have a 1,000-seater contact center that's dedicated to serve you 24/7. We have relationship management teams in all the countries that are represented here, as you can see. Give us the feedback, and what we do is we want to take that opportunity to serve you better and to continue. I want to come up with all the products that are relevant to you that, again, will enable you to work globally and bank locally. So let me have my colleagues say a couple of words. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here with you all, and I'm happy, very much excited for Texas. You are really the best. I really love the turn up. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm from Rwanda. Those who know the place, we are located in the most beautiful building in Kigali, Grand Pension Plaza. It's among the newest in town. So if you happen to pass through Kigali, even though you're not Rwandan, please say hi to us. We would like to give you a warm welcome as Rwandese. Yeah? Yes. So I think Patrice covered it all. I just want to add a little thing that is very exciting to people who live here. We don't charge monthly fees. So if you have your money, you're saving it, be sure it's not going down. It's good, yeah? There's no monthly charges. Yeah. So that's all I think I can say. I'll be here outside there. If you want to ask, I've met Kenyans, even people from other countries who would love to know how to invest in Rwanda. Please feel free. We are not limited to only Rwandese here. Anyone who wants to invest, we are giving you a warm welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abigail Mwangi, and I take charge of you guys. I'm based in Diaspora Bank in Kenya. It's very humbling to be here before you, and I'm very thankful that you could find time to come and be with us. I'm outside there at the Kenya registration desk. You can pass by and say hello. Thank you. Bless.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Anthony Chituka. I am the Executive Director for Equity Bank subsidiary in Uganda. First of all, Bana Uganda, hello. Okay, quite a number of you here. The equity journey in Uganda has been going on for 8 years. And why are we, as the diaspora team in the subsidiaries, here to speak to you? What you've seen explained by James, Patrice, can be done, is being done in Uganda. It's an East African story. The beauty about investment, as James has mentioned, is you can invest in equity stock in Uganda, because it's listed in the stock exchange, in Dar es Salaam as well, and in Rwanda. So you can buy, no matter you're not Kenyan, you can still buy stock. You're not Kenyan, you can still invest in anywhere in East Africa. A project in Kisumu, being owned by a Ugandan who comes from Fort Portal, can be financed by a bank called Equity Bank in East Africa. So anybody who wants to invest, who wants to transfer money, who wants to take advantage of the opportunities, as has been done by Equity across the region, even from Dallas, can do that starting tonight. We request, we beg, we plead, as James has said, Africa is rising, but East Africa is surging. By getting now. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to our Director of Strategy for the group, Madame Mary Wamai Wangari. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. As you can see, we are ready. And what we have done, as you heard Patrice say, is we have adopted a relationship-based kind of approach to diaspora banking this time, so that we are in touch with you every step of the way, 24/7. So feel free to get in touch with our team members anytime, 24/7. They are ready for you, and they'll be there for you to answer the queries and to give you any support that you may require. We have done a lot of preparation so that we don't let you down. I think we can today make a promise as Equity Bank that we're going to be there for you and support you and create a lasting partnership with you. Now, a lot has been said. Let me say that we are lucky also that Patrice, the one who was here before, talking about diaspora banking, is one of you. He has been in the US since he was a young boy, so he understands the challenges and the opportunities that the people in the diaspora go through every day, or that they see every day. And I think he's also able to interpret that and say, this is how to approach this issue. So hopefully, and we are confident that we are going to be able to address your issues accordingly and appropriately. Now, we have had a lot, and I think Dr. Mwangi had a very good expose of what is going on in the region. I'm sure you have heard. We always say that teachers open the doors, but you, as a student, must walk through that door yourself. You must make the decision to enter yourself. So ponder the words, ponder all the information that has been given this evening, and then as you take your dinner, think about it. I'm sure you'll have a lot of comments and queries. We'll be ready to take that after we've had something to eat. Yeah, so you prepare your questions and your comments and the feedback for us. We'll be happy to take it after the meal. So for now, let's go to the next item. And I would like to quickly just request someone from the floor, anyone who is ready to come here. We give thanks for the food that we are going to eat. Very quickly, say a prayer for food. Okay, yeah, Bill, thanks.
All right, thank you. Let's just bless this food. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you just humbled by your majesty. We thank you for the privilege to come together as a community to explore the provisions you've laid out before us, the provisions in abundance. Lord, we pray that you give special blessings over this food, friendship, and fellowship tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Bill. So the food will come where you are, so just stay where you are. Be patient. The servers will come to you. Bon appetit. We'll talk shortly. Thank you.